Hi, my loves. Welcome to another video. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of February and also the books that I am hoping to get to throughout the month of March. If you want to see what I'm going to be reading, if you want to see what I've read, maybe get yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a water, get cozy, and join me in this video. I have my water, of course. Let's talk the books in February. For me, the month of February was a time of love. I wanted to kind of have my focus more on love and romance. I did pretty good with the love and romance category. I'm pretty happy with it. So overall, it was a good month of books with a lot of 5-star reads. And I read a total of 5 books, or I will have read a total of 5 books. One of them I am still currently reading, and I am going to finish it by the end of the month. So I'm definitely counting it. And that's not bad. That was the goal. I think I actually set my goal at 4 books. So 5 books is really, really good. So I started off my month with The Vampires of El Norte. And I read this book from the 1st of February through the 7th. It was a 5-star read. This book is so beautiful. The writing style, gorgeous. The author just paints the most descriptive, beautiful picture of the scenery and just the setting and the environment of this book throughout the entire story. You can imagine it in your mind as if you were there experiencing the same thing. The characters you can easily relate to them in a way, and you just kind of grow with them as well. The vampires in this story are different from what your typical idea of a vampire is. These vampires are a little different, and you'll have to read the story to kind of have a better understanding of why I say that. But it was such a beautiful story. It is definitely, I would say, like a romantic horror. I don't even know if that's a category in itself, but this is definitely one of those books where you have the elements of horror in it, but you also have the strong element of a fictional romance, kind of a whole thing. It's not just horror. And in fact, I would say it's very minimal horror. I don't really feel like I would place this in a horror category, but it does have some elements of it. I think it's more of a literary romance with a splash of horror. I can't tell you the details because I do not want to spoil it or give anything away. So just trust me on this one. It's a really, really good one. And if you're curious about it, if you've been wanting to read it, definitely check it out. It is a beautiful story and I love it. I was so into it and I really wanted it to keep going. Like I didn't want it to end. So that's how you know it's a really good book, is when you don't want it to end. After that, I picked up Bloom, and I read this one from the 7th through the 10th. I devoured this book, and rightly so, because it is so good. It is a different take on a horror book. It is a little gruesome, a lot gruesome. It is just different. I will not give anything away. It has romance elements as well. It has It just has a different take. So you guys have to just trust me on this. It's really, really good. I love the way the writer described certain situations. I liked the way that the writer kind of built you up in the story. This is a slow burn kind of a read. You're gonna get the majority of the action and the conclusion at the end of the book. So it's not a big book either. It's a really small one. It's like, I think it was like 200 something pages, maybe not even. But it was a slow burn to get to like the whole point of understanding what the hell is happening. So if you can get through that, and I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty easy because the way that the story like unravels itself, you want to know what's happening. But everything, like all of the action and all of the juiciness is at the end, towards the end. So you have to finish the book. It's so good. That was a 4-star read. I gave it 4 stars simply because of the slow burn aspect. I would have loved to get some of the juiciness earlier on. I think that would have kind of made for a pretty interesting, even more interesting read than what it already was. I think this was because I was also distracted with other stuff. But there was a time where I was kind of like, if this isn't going to go anywhere, is this going to be one of those books that I regret, taking the time to read? And it totally took a spin, and you have to read it. So definitely 4 stars for Bloom. I loved it. I started to read Self-Care for Pisces. So Self-Care for Pisces is actually one of those little books, an astrology book where it talks about just the single zodiac sign. It's a really, really quick read because it's super like tiny little paragraphs per page, and it's a small little book. So I devoured it in a day and it was really good. 5 stars for me. Love to read about my Pisces sign, and these little books in general are kind of like little nuggets of useful information that you didn't think you needed about your sun sign. It gives you some tips for nurturing your zodiac traits, self-care remedies, little activities that your specific sign may love to do. I had to read something Pisces because February is the start of Pisces season and it just felt right. So cute little book. Okay, so at the same time, I was also reading Butcher and Blackbird. So I started this book on the 15th of February. I finished it on the 19th. This book, I gave a 5-star rating. I was really close to giving it 4 stars. And then I just decided, you know what? There was more juiciness and craziness and nastiness in this book than, I anticipated. And so overall, it was very entertaining, I will say. It was definitely not something that I see myself wanting to continue the series, if there is a series and whatnot with it. I'm not sure. It says it's book number 1. I don't know if the series continues with the same characters or whatnot. I feel like it's kind of a one and done kind of a book. Like, once I've read about these 2 characters, I really don't care what happens to them after that first book. It was it was definitely a roller coaster of a read for me. Parts that I loved, parts that I hated, parts that I was grossed out by, and other parts that I was just like, what am I reading? So it's all over the place. It'll have you everywhere. It is definitely an erotica book, so it does have themes, and there is a beautiful first page of this book that the author put up a list of warnings that, hey, just FYI, there's little warnings for content that this book has. And I think it was a really good idea that she did that, because some of the stuff that I was reading, I was just like, so it made me blush, So yeah, it was definitely an interesting read, but it's not something that I was super invested in the characters where I want to follow them for the next few books. You know what I mean? And then the last book that I read this month is Bride. And that is this one right here. So Bride is a vampire werewolf romance, and it is Very, very good. I'm really, really enjoying it. I am almost 50% of the way through. In fact, I believe I'm about 40 or 40 something percent. I like it. I'm into it, but I am also finding myself like while I'm reading it, my mind wanders. So it's kind of like that could just be me like being distracted. But I find when that happens, I have to take breaks when I'm reading so that I'm not like finding myself needing to reread a page or whatnot. And that could be a little bit annoying and frustrating because I just feel like it makes the reading experience drag. And then, I just feel like everything just goes so much slower. So I thought I was going to really get into this one and read it really quickly, but that has not been the case. So luckily I have 4 days left of this month and I do plan on finishing it. I already did the math with the number of pages I have left. If I read about 60 to 65-ish pages per day for the next 4 days, I will be done with it. So that'll be easy to do. That's usually typically like where I'm at these days is I read anywhere from 60 to 100 pages per day. On a good reading day, there are days obviously where I'm not even meeting that goal, but I've gotten to the point now with my reading where I'm trying not to be super hard on myself and super strict. I just read until I'm tired, or I read until, I know I need a break. Still finding that I'm still able to finish books. So I haven't gotten to that, like my old ways where I would like only read like 1 or 2 pages and then like not pick up the book for days. Like I'm not doing that, but I haven't been on top of myself as much as I was in the months prior. So overall, I think I'm going to enjoy this book. I could see the love elements starting to slowly unravel, but I will definitely say this is it's a slow burn romance. And I think that's also partly why I'm like, just get to the point. You know what I mean? Like when I start to feel that way about a book, that's dangerous territory. It's either I'm going to make it or I'm going to break it, So I'm definitely going to make it because I want to sit in the Barnes & Noble romance book club that they have. They're having one to talk about this book next month. So I'm hoping that I will feel confident enough to go sit and meet some people and talk books. But we shall see. So those are the books that I read, you guys. I'm very proud of myself. I am pleased with the books that I chose to read. I feel like when I see the 5 and 4-star ratings on my list, I know that, it was a good month. So very, very good. So let's talk about my March TBR. As far as March goes, I don't have a theme. I'm not doing the theme again. I am just going to go for whatever feels good, whatever sounds good, whatever my heart desires. At least one of the books that I read this month has to be vampire related because I don't know if I mentioned it in my other videos, but I've been on a little mild vampire kick. I know I mentioned it on my Instagram stories. I just have been so into the vampire thing again. And it's been a while. I was, into the vampires, and then I got into the zombies, and then I got into, I think, mermaids and like deep sea horror. And then now I'm kind of sliding back into the vampire thing again. So there are a couple vampire books in this pile, but we'll see if I get to any of them or all of them or what. I will say I do have more books in my pile than I plan on reading. That's because I'm giving myself the opportunity to have something to choose, some choices. But there are a couple books here that I will definitely be reading because they are on my radar. And then also, I have to say this every single time. I will put books on my TBR and then sometimes I don't even touch them. Like last month, I put books, I had them on my TBR. Some of them I didn't even get to. Some of them I lost interest in. And so I put them back on my bookshelf and I figure maybe they'll call to me another day. And if not, they will go in the donation bin. But until then, I'm not putting pressure on myself. I am not putting pressure on myself to have to read the books that I pick because that just takes the fun out of reading, and what is the point? So the whole point of me having a TBR is to have something to show you guys of like what is interesting me right now. But does it mean that I'm going to read it? I don't know. We shall see. The Dowry of Blood. This was a recent purchase. I freaking love the cover. It drew me in. It was sitting on a table at Barnes & Noble. I saw the cover and I just fell in love, and I knew instantly this has got to be a vampire book. It says it is thrilling and seductive. This is my last love letter to you, though some would call it a confession. So begins the tale of Constanta, first bride of Dracula. So before a tale of obsession, desire, and control, so begins her revenge. So this is one of the brides, one of, I guess, the perspective of one of the brides of Dracula. I have not read Dracula. I've said this a few times. I have been waiting for the perfect time to read it. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect time to read the book Dracula, but I think that rather than waiting for October, maybe I'll get started on it, but I am not putting a limit on myself to how long it's going to take me, because that's just going to drive me crazy. So sorry if I keep touching my hair, you guys. I know that could be like an annoying thing. I just washed it this morning and it's just so frizzy and all over the place, and it's just driving me crazy. So I pulled my Dracula book, okay? I really, really, really want to read it this year. That is the goal. So I'm thinking, rather than like waiting till a certain time frame to do it, I'm going to just start diving in. I'm scared to read the book Dracula, not because I'm afraid of it, but I'm scared that I'm like going to be disappointed. It's also kind of one of those like intimidating. I'm a little intimidated. I get intimidated anytime there's like a classic book that I'm going to read, because I have such high expectations and I don't want to be disappointed. All of the reviews that I've read, I've heard that it could be quite lengthy. It could be quite boring at times. But then I also hear people say that it was really, really good and beautiful and they loved it. So I try not to pay attention to what people say, but I do like to read a review here and there. But I think it's just time that I finally crack this guy open. So Dracula's on my March TBR. And we will see how far I get with this. But like I said, I am not putting any limits on myself. I am not putting any expectations on myself to when I finish this. I do plan on finishing it. I just don't know when it's going to happen. So Dracula. I also wanted to pick some shorter reads to give myself just a breath of air after reading something longer, because I don't want to burn myself out. So one of the books that I picked is Nothing But Blackened Teeth. The cover of this book is so creepy looking. So creepy. In fact, she almost looks like me right now with my crazy hair. That's kind of funny. But anyways, it looks really, really good. The house has secrets too. Lurking in the shadows is the ghost bride with a black smile and a hungry heart. Ooh, that sounds really good. So it's a small little read. Definitely going to go into that. I also have We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. So I read quite a few Grady Hendrix books already, and they've all been really interesting and good, and I enjoy them. This one is on the Barnes & Noble TBR for their horror book club happening in March. So I picked this one because I want to read it, because I want to sit and go to this book club. Why not give this one a try? As only a girl with a guitar can save us all. So I'm interested to see what this one's about. It's a book club book. So I'm honestly, guys, I'm crossing my fingers that I go to this book club, because I want to meet new people. I want to make friends. I want to meet people that are into horror books and all of that stuff. So just cross your fingers for me that I go. Another book that is definitely going to be read this month is Nat Cassidy's Nestlings. This one I hear really, really good things about. It looks really creepy. The cover is just amazing. This is the horror book of the year. So this one came out last year. It says it's like harnessing the creeping paranoia of Rosemary's Baby with the urban horror of Salem's Lot. Rosemary's Baby was really, really good. Definitely a good classic. Salem's Lot is the ultimate, not the ultimate, but it is a really good vampire story, your typical vampire type. So seeing those two books, excuse me, seeing those two books on the, the little commentaries, Yeah, I think this one's going to be good. So we shall see. Another small book that I picked that has a lot of positive reviews is What Moves the Dead by King Fisher. I love the cover of this. It's so creepy. Love that. A gripping and atmospheric reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. Ooh, it says it's a gothic delight, perfectly hair-raising in all the right ways. I like to read like the other authors' little commentary. I don't know. It sounds good. We shall see. It sounds like it has a lot of fungus horror. I honestly don't even know what that's about, but it sounds good. That was one of those books where I picked it for the cover, and because it has such good reviews, I'll just surprise myself when I dive into it. I wanted a vampire steamy romance, and I saw this one on the bookshelf at Barnes & Noble the other day. It's called King of Battle and Blood. So we will see. And last book on my TBR is The Teacher. This one sounds really juicy. So this is almost like a teacher-student kind of a situation. And I don't know, there's probably some juicy stuff in here. I don't know. I really don't know what it's about, but everybody has been talking good stuff about this one. So yeah, we will see. We'll see how that goes. This is a chunky book, but these types of books, like these murder mysteries and like, you know, these are the kinds of books that I like because there's always something happening every single page. And it's like those quick reads. So stuff like this, it's easier to get through versus something that's more of a slow burn, you know? So I like to throw some of those in my pile because it just makes the experience of reading something cover to cover, and when you're like reading it, you know, in a rush because you just are so into it. I love books like that. And I find thrillers or murder mysteries are always like that. Not always, but a lot of them are like that. So that is my TBR for March. It's very iffy because, like I said, I don't know what my mood is going to be. I don't know what I'm going to want to read or what I'm not going to like. So it's just kind of all over the place. There are a couple books that I know I will do, but everything else is just kind of, we will see how it goes. Anyways, my loves, I feel like I've been like talking nonstop, and I'm just like all over the place with my thoughts. This is what happens when Mercury goes into Pisces. I'm just all over the place. My mouth, my mouth just keeps going and I don't even know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to end the video there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope that you are doing well. I hope you guys are reading something really, really good that is getting your attention or making you happy, or that is just fueling you to want to read more and all of the good stuff. I will see you guys in my next video very, very soon. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.